Okay, if you need a moment to think before you speak, use the phrase like, well, let me think about that for a moment. Or you can say, that's an interesting question. To give yourself time. Hi, good morning. May I have a look at your passport? Yeah. Could you give me your full name, please? My first name is Sarah, which means princess. My family name is Burton. Alright, Sarah. This first part, I'm going to ask you some question about yourself. Let's talk about your work. Where do you work? I work part-time at a bookstore. Do you enjoy your work? Yes, very much. Why? It's an interesting job because I get to deal with the publics, and they offer quite colorful characters, and I like my boss. What kind of tasks do you have to do at work? Sometimes I have to open the store, I have to set up keys, I have to deal with the public and thousands of books, and sometimes I have a place to order for books that we don't have. Have you ever been late to work? Yes, very often, but I was once very late. I'd like to move on now to talk about fashion. Tell me about popular clothes and fashion in your country. That's a quite difficult because people have different tastes. But younger people tend to wear a lot of denim, which you wouldn't see on somebody who, say, 60 or 70 years old. What sort of fashion shop do you have in your country? Again, quite variety. Some big chain stores, there are also smaller one, smaller independent shops. Have fashion changed very much since you were younger? I think they have changed quite a lot. But it is interesting to see how some fashion reappear maybe 20 years later. Is it important for you to be in fashion? Yes, not desperately so, but I do like to be quite fashionable. Let's move on to the topic of the internet. How often do you use internet? I use it almost every day, but mainly just the evenings. Does everyone in your family use the internet? Yes, well, everybody apart from my dad. He doesn't like very much. But we are slowly persuading him to use it more. What do you use internet for? I use it mainly to check my emails. I got friends all around the world, so I like to keep in touch with them by email. And I also use the net to look up information. When did you last use the internet? I used it last night. I needed some travel information. I'm thinking about flying to America next year, and I also have some work to do in my history project. Okay, Sarah, I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 or 2 minutes. Before you talk, you have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say. You can make some notes if you wish. Here's some paper and pencil for you to make notes. And here's the topic. Don't worry, I'll stop you. I'll let you know when the time is up. Describe a place you would like to visit. You should say, where is it? When you like to go there? Who would you like to go with? And explain why would you like to visit this place. Alright, can you start speaking now please? Okay, I always wanted to go to China ever since I was a little girl. I've never been, and it's a long way, which mine means that is it is too expensive. I like to go to look into it. I think the best time to go would be before Chinese New Year, with all the celebrations happening, which I believe is at the end of January. But I think about it. I'm thinking about it. It might be quite cold at that time of the year. I heard that in China it's very cold in the winter, and it's very crowded as well. Because people having the same idea, so actually maybe I should go in the summer. Although it might be too hot then. So maybe in autumn, yeah. I like to go to China in the autumn. I'd really like to take my friend, his family is from China, so that would be really good. He's always wanted to go as well. And then we go there. I think it's a shame not to see the Great Wall. That's something we really like to do. And also spend some time in the rural areas, in the countryside, and if we can to get to talk to some people because I really like languages. It would be great if we could learn Mandarin, perhaps. We both like cycling, and I believe there's some great places to cycle out there. You think that you go to China soon? I hope so. If you want to emphasize on something in English, use do, does, or did. For example, I do like visit big cities, but I also don't mind spending some time in the rural areas in the countryside. I do think it is a great idea to learn something of the language of the country you're going to. Okay, we've been talking about places you like to visit, and I'd like to discuss with you one or two more general questions related to this. So, let's consider first of all the idea as student of having a gap year. How important do you think for young people to visit different places before they go to university or college? I think it's really important. I think it's really crucial time to get some life experience that is independent of home and family. Seeing things that you're not familiar with may seem to be scary, but in the long run, I think build your confidence, and also think it's always a good thing to get experience of different cultures. What sort of challenges do you think you have going to the gap year as a student? I think there's maybe a language challenges and financial challenges as well, because obviously as student I don't have much money, so I would like to think about whether or not I would work in order to fund that study. You think it's useful to work for other reason as well beside money? Beside money, yes. I think it's better way of getting beneath the surface of different country cultures. I think it's by working you more likely to come in contact with people, which is will help you with your languages and also your understanding. Uh, Not only work ethos, but also culture in general. What sort of jobs do you think would be the best sort of jobs to do? I think it will be depends on whether you there were language barrier. If it was somewhere where people needed your native language, you could be quite valuable to them. But if you didn't speak their language, then you'd be fairly useless as, say, a translator or interpreter. And you might have to do some more ground level work, like working in a restaurant or a bar. What sort of preparation should students make before they go on a gap year, you think? Well, I think it depends on where you're going. If it's an area where you might need vaccination, then you need to get proper medication preparations, like malaria tablet or vaccination you might need. Also, if you need to work to fund the traveling, then it would be a good idea to write potential employees in advance. Okay, let's move on to the topic of traveling to less familiar places. What sort of advantages are there to read about country before you visit it? I think I think you can make more effective use of your time if you know where to go before you get there, rather than wandering around wasting time on places that weren't worth it. Some people choose to have a guide when they go to a very unfamiliar place. Do uh, you think that improves the quality of travel experience? Yes, I think anybody with local knowledge is going to quite literally guide you tour some real don't miss these areas type of places. So if you can afford a guide, I think this would be a great idea. How can you make sure you get the most out of your travels? I've always thought learning something of the language of the country you're going to is the best possible way of benefiting fully from your holiday. That way, the local population aren't so likely to see you as an outsider, but rather as someone who has made an effort of learning some words and expression and so has an interest in their culture. Thank you, sir. That's the end of your speaking test. Thank you.